Anybody else want to go watch Boondock Saints after this?
What's Boondock?
You don't know what Boondock Saints is?
No.
Bro.
All right, we're back for episode 6. We're on location today at the Glen Restaurant. And of course, we have Riley Whiskey Santa with us again, reviewing whiskey. And today, we have a special guest, Sierra. She's our lead bartender over at the Glen. And we are reviewing the best Irish whiskey in honor of St. Patrick's Day. So let's dive right in. We have
can't
three.
say they're the best because there's so many good
All right,
ones.
well, we're reviewing good Irish whiskey.
There we go.
So Irish whiskey is probably the most storied past, as far as I know, and it goes back to the 12th century, when the monks, they learned in the Mediterranean. They came back and they basically started making whiskey, and they called it the water of life. It's very interesting, actually. It goes way before Scotch or even bourbon. It's just one of the first early forms of whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with the timeline there. 12th century, these monks in Ireland found the process of distilling in Southern Europe, Mediterranean, somewhere in that area, and they brought it back with them, and they originally called it uisce beatha, I think. I'm probably saying that wrong, but
Yeah. I wish we had someone Irish with us, but uisce beatha.
yeah,
accent.
It basically, it's a loose translation to the water of life, like you were saying, and they essentially were some of the first to pioneer the distillation process for grain, for single grain, single malt. They eventually, the word uisce is what we have slowly transitioned into the word whiskey.
Yeah.
So that's where we get that from. It's the word whiskey has no translation. It's actually just a mispronunciation of their Gaelic word.
Crazy.
Uisce. Yeah.
We call whiskey, all of us call whiskey because we mispronounced the Irish word uisce, which means the water of life. It was the most important thing in Ireland. At one point, it was the largest selling of all Scotch whiskey everywhere. They had 1,000 distilleries in Ireland.
They had lost a lot of water sources, and they unearthed some old distilleries. Because the water source dries up and they have to leave.
Well, worse than that, it came almost to a complete close because a couple reasons. In 1919, the Irish Independence War just like cut it out. They also fought Britain on trade wars like Trump's doing right now with Canada. So that ended that. They couldn't get a market to sell Irish whiskey. Yeah. And then they also had Prohibition hit the United States same time.
That was dumb.
And so they went down and they almost all failed. I think it went down to almost zero Irish distilleries.
Very, very few. Yeah. I think some of the big names are only the ones that survived during that time period. Very, very few.
Jameson was one of the early ones.
Bushmills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bushmills. I think Bushmills is actually like the very first distillery
Bushmills
in the whole world, actually.
Yeah, it was Bushmills. It was
in
Jameson.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's one to grow on.
But then in 1990 and the 80s and 90s, this huge revival on whiskey, which also happened in bourbon, came back, and Irish whiskey came back, and they added, of course, Jameson was part of that. Everyone knows Jameson is the solid Irish whiskey, right? And then
bartenders love it.
Yeah. It's probably I think it's the house whiskey for most bar wells, right? I mean, Jameson is.
Well, it's the number one call. So.
Yeah, number one call.
It is the number one Irish whiskey.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think Teeling jumped on the scene, and Teeling's really interesting. Riley, tell us about Teeling.
The heritage, I'm pretty sure, goes back a really, really long time ago. I mean, they were one of the original people that brought it back when it kind of died. They were one of the revival brands, and they're kind of setting the. I think they're one of the brands setting the precedent for kind of the keeping it original with a slight experimental kind of twist to it. One of the ones we're tasting today, it's a single grain, very classic Irish whiskey, but then they're finishing it in a Cabernet Sauvignon barrel. So then you have that just little bit of a twist there. So it's, like I said, I think keeping to the roots with just a little bit of a different kind of flair to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sierra here happens to be Irish. You figured that out today, right? As we were talking.
Well, yeah, I did 23andMe, and I am actually 85% Irish.
There you go. So it's fitting.
Part of it, yeah. Yeah.
So when you're behind the bar, I mean, when you go to Jameson, is that just your go-to whiskey? Is that what we're mostly tasting in most of our cocktails?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely probably the most popular, most ordered, just kind of go-to for, I don't know, bartenders. You know, we've always talked about the bartender's handshake over the years. And
What's
you
the
know,
bartender's handshake?
Well, sometimes it's, I mean, if you're a whiskey drinker, then it's Jameson, and then if Rumpleman's also falls into that category as the bartender's handshake. But
Forget Fernet and Malort.
oh gosh, yes.
Malort.
Yeah, did you send that bottle of Malort
You're
over?
welcome.
I mean, I've been a
Oh.
bartender. I mean, I've been a bar owner for the last 10 years. You're telling me I didn't know what the bartender handshake was?
That's
Yeah.
classic, man.
Mhm.
It's
Is this like a freebie to the other bartenders?
No, it's just how
No.
you know a bartender's a bartender. If they sit down and they order Rumpleman's,
A customer
or
orders a
like,
bartender's
or
handshake.
Malort or Fernet, yeah.
And you get a Miller High Life.
Oh
now
my
I
gosh.
sound
You
like
have
an
that
idiot.
here, too.
I know that. All right. Well, we're going to be tasting 3 whiskeys today. We're going to be tasting Teeling. Is it a special Teeling?
It's the Teeling Single Grain.
single
Single
grain.
grain. Okay. And then we're going to be tasting Dead Rabbit, which we'll talk about. And then we're going to
Fun
do a
one.
little lightly peated one called Connemara, which is one my favorite because it most matches Scotch because it's made like a Scotch and then lightly peated. Okay. So the first one, Teeling, it is the fastest growing whiskey market today is Irish whiskey.
Is it?
Yep, it's the fastest growing whiskey
I
market
did not know
today.
that.
It's making such a strong comeback. I think mainly one because it's like Scotch, but I think, as I nicely say, it's half the price.
Yeah,
Right?
it is much
So
more
it's like
affordable.
Scotch, but half the price.
And
Most-
a lot of the laws are centered around the same thing. Like it has to be aged for minimum 3 years. Like it can't be proofed up. Like it can't be come into the barrel at a certain proof. It can't go below 40%. So they're very humble for charging half the price for Scotch.
All right, let's go for Teeling. Smells good, very vanilla and caramel. Well, that's an easy drinker.
Yeah, it is.
That's wow. That's 46%. I would have thought it was a little less. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
Whiskey Santa, what do you think?
Sweet.
Yeah, it is sweet.
It's not what, you know, like again, when we're jumping around from these whiskeys to whiskeys, you know, you get that, it's kind of like almost when we were growing up, you know, everybody's doing Jose Cuervo, and there's that tequila face, right? And then when you get to Irish whiskeys, you get kind of like, no, I can't do that one, because they think it's not necessarily as smooth as it really is. This is literally one of the smoothest ones
Very smooth.
that you're gonna try. Irish
Yeah, that's
whiskey
an
is
easy sipper.
very, very smooth.
I wouldn't say it really, for me, it doesn't really like jump out at you, but if you're just having a chill night, you want to drink some Irish whiskey, this is good. And I think this probably works really well in cocktails because it doesn't really overdo the cocktail. I think it really blends well. So
Yeah, very even flavor profile.
You
Yeah.
said it's 92?
it's
Yeah.
46. That's
46, 92
46,
proof.
so it's 92. Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good.
And again, you're getting into anything above 80. I mean, you're going to get a little bit more shine through this thing. So let them shine. These are
It's a Cabernet finish.
what we're
And I
doing
think you
does
get a
not
little-
suck. So this is
No.
pretty awesome.
This has a super kind of caramel, almost like velvet caramel vanilla. A lot of vanilla.
So
So I'm
it's
getting a lot.
velvet, silky.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot on that. So if you like that kind of taste profile,
Butterscotch.
Teeling is good. And Teeling's, we don't get a lot of Irish whiskey here in the United States for some reason. I feel like, maybe I'm wrong. That we just don't have a lot at the bars.
We don't have a lot at the bars, but like at the stores, there's whole ass.
Aisles and aisles
Yeah.
of it.
There's an aisle of it. There's a ton of them. And
Yeah.
then, there's everything from just bottom to the spots.
Yeah.
Blue, red, gold. Middleton, like you said, Bush, the Bushmills, they're Connemara, and we get to taste these in just such a unique order too, because now we're gonna come back to something that's it's probably not gonna be as smooth as this one.
Yeah, the next one I don't think a lot of people have heard of. I'm going to dump my first one here so I can just not be drunk at 11 o'clock in the morning. Let's talk about the Dead Rabbit. And this is fun because I didn't know a lot about this. I mean, I've obviously seen the movie, and there's a gangs in New York, and there's the Dead Rabbit gang,
There's
right?
the Dead Rabbit bar.
And then we were in New York, and you're like, we got to go to the Dead Rabbit Bar. So we took the pilgrimage all the way over there and went to the Dead Rabbit Bar, which had whiskeys on the wall, very much like we have at Rare Books and the Monarch. Good
One
whiskey
of my
lounge.
favorite bars in New York City, and it's incredible. It is. It was so much fun.
So we went over there, and this has something to do with that, right, Alan?
Oh yeah, yeah. So Daryl McNally is the master distiller on this one. It's a 44%. So yeah, aged 5 years. That's aged 5 years. Look at the color on that.
That's, yeah.
Daryl McNally, you met that gentleman, didn't you, Riley?
Yeah, he's actually kind of a pioneer in Irish whiskey. He brought back another revival brand called Limavady, which was, I think, where he was born and raised. So it's kind of like his family roots. He did Bushmills, he did Sexton, Redbreast. He did a collaboration with the bartenders at the Dead Rabbit when he was with the Dublin Liberty or Liberty Dublin, I forget, distillery. And that's who did the Dead Rabbit originally. So him and the bartenders and all that. So it kind of pays homage to.
So he made this for the bar, basically, or is this made for another bar?
It was made for the bar in New York. Yeah.
Okay.
It was the bartenders at that bar and him and another gentleman that was with the Dublin distillery, Dublin Liberty Distillery, I think, and they all kind of made it together.
Yeah.
And
There's a Dead Rabbit in Austin now.
Is there?
yeah, they also make the best smash burger I've ever had in my life.
Oh, I love it.
Unrelated to whiskey, but hey, if you want a smash burger, Dead Rabbit, huh?
I'm telling you.
It's incredible that I remember that night because I was completely hammered
Well,
when we were there, and it still very much stands out in my mind. Just the different, because there's different rooms. I mean, well, there's a
it's
front
cool.
bar, there's a middle bar, there's upstairs.
I remember it was crowded.
It was very crowded.
So we're tasting the Dead Rabbit Irish whiskey. It's 44 ABV, which is about, what is that, 88
Yeah, 88.
proof. Okay, lightly, I don't think there's going to be any peat in this.
No peat.
No, but
And,
when
let's
you
give it a
taste
go.
it though, you're going to get more of that wood. You're going to get like the
new oak kind
yeah,
of.
the New York. So to me, it's not as smooth as
It's
this
different
one.
than Teeling.
Still got the sweetness on it. You
It's
get
got
more
like a-
wood.
It's like a caramely scent to it.
Ginger,
Mm-hmm.
caramel, ginger.
This tastes more like whiskey to me. More like Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
This is a lot closer to what I expected an Irish whiskey to taste like.
So this is where you get the
the
different
grain comes through.
Yeah, the grain's popping out.
Yeah.
So
I
I
like the
mean,
finish, good lingering finish. I like this a lot.
I looked at
Very good.
This kind of reminds me of a Scotch. It has a lot of that single malt Scotch feeling.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So we
Sierra,
brought
what do you
this
think?
in
I
at
actually really enjoy
Rare
that one.
Books, and we use this as the shot. So
What's
as
that?
far as the handshake version of what we do when
At
we
Rare
do
Books?
Yeah. So because we wanted something cool over at Rare Books that was a little bit different, and when we started doing this one, this is what a lot of your regulars were doing shots of when you were there.
Sierra, what are you tasting?
I really enjoy it actually. It's very smooth. Some sweeter notes for sure.
Do you typically drink Scotch or do you drink
I don't.
whiskey?
I'm really more of a tequila drinker, so sorry,
Yeah.
y'all. But
Yeah.
but I do. I mean, I enjoy a good old fashioned from time to time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll switch it up and make a tequila old fashioned, but
Is that what Irish is doing? Is Irish playing with? Are they getting outside of Scotch and are they able to be more flexible because they are Irish whiskey? Are they more flexible? So they have. You said you had an orange
Jameson's-
flavored.
Yeah, they have an orange. They have their cask mates. There's I don't know coffee based ones and
Black.
and yeah, they use I don't know,
Age
Jameson
statements?
Ball was a big deal for.
Yeah, we may see a huge resurgence in Irish whiskeys. I think they have a less. What's the word? Where you don't have the kind of the rules of Scotch, and Scotch is very uptight, I think, and I don't mean that in a mean way. They just kind of have they're so set in stone. Like if you just deviate from it too much, you probably get ridiculed.
and you can't call
Yeah,
it
right.
Scotch anymore,
But
yeah.
Irish whiskey, I think you can get a little bit more away with some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's how this will come back.
Well, they're drinkers over there, so and they're power drinkers. They make us look silly.
Yeah. I'm also thinking we're going to see a lot of Irish distilleries come back that died, like went out of business, and come back. And that's always fun to say, like you said, the Limavady was from 1708, you said something like
I think the early 1700s, or sorry, the late 1700s.
So there's an early distillery that he actually decided to go, reinvent and turn the stills back on again, and that's kind of fun when you think about that.
So when he came in and met Riley at Rare Books, he saw the dead rabbit and he got super excited because he doesn't see it out other than retail. And you haven't met both bars, but it was funny to see him light up, and he goes, I did that one too.
That's
and
fun.
we were like, we do shots of that like every time we're in here.
That's
that.
fun. That's fun. All right, well, that was a good one. Let's see. This one is Connemara. This one actually is not as well known, but when you start listing off Irish whiskeys, I know that Connemara is one of those ones that when you say, ooh, people's eyes light up. Connemara is really interesting. So,
Your eyes light up on this
well,
one.
this was lightly peated. And,
That's why your eyes light up.
When I get the bottle over here, I'm going to go ahead and give you some of the stats on it. But Connemara, I've always liked.
Yeah, I know the
Yeah,
two
wait
of
till you
you
nose
like
it.
peated for sure.
Yes.
I know you do.
Oh yeah, I like peated. This is a peated single malt Irish whiskey. So this will follow that same peated format we talked about in the previous episodes. Let's see what it tastes like.
I feel
one
like,
of
go ahead.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the, like, I think the only readily available peated Irishes.
Whoa.
Like there are, I'm not saying there aren't any other peated ones, but as far as if you were to go to the liquor store and look for a peated Irish whiskey, I think this is like the one of your only options that you can get.
Okay, there you
Yeah.
go. So if you want a peated whiskey for half the price of a Macallan or something like that, or a Lefroy or Lagavulin, this would be it.
I still think it's incredible how sweet these are.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting about this one is it comes from that area. And so Connemara, it's like it's an area in West Ireland, right up on the coast. And they don't speak English there. They're very, very like in their roots of Irish culture. Like they're making Irish whiskey the way that land has been making Irish whiskey for forever. So it's cool to be able to try a brand like this that has been, this is probably what it tasted like, at least similar, way back when, before we were even around and our grandparents were even around. So it's a little bit of history in a bottle. So
This is peat to me.
yeah, there's a good amount of peat.
Cherie is going to say this tastes like tires.
and good tires.
I did see that. I was like,
and good tires it tastes.
Yeah.
oh god.
It's fantastic.
It is
But,
fantastic.
I mean, to me, it does not taste like tires.
I would do
This is-
Connemara
It doesn't
on a
taste
regular
like tires.
basis.
It's definitely very peated, which is a little
That's
outside.
good.
of
Now
my
you
wheelhouse,
know
but-
when you're going up down the aisles and you're watching a show, you're like, all right, I want a peated Irish Scotch or peated Irish whiskey, because you can't say Scotch. Peated Irish whiskey, you're going to go, I'm getting Connemara. So
I just think it's cool that I've never really stepped down long enough to appreciate a sip of Dead Rabbit, that I've always done it as a shot, and it usually just kind of pushes me over the edge for the night. So then now I taste nothing after. But tasting that and like going through these are, I can't wait to do a cigar one, because I may do Irish with our cigar.
there you go.
And that would go completely against what I normally do, which would be rye. So I'll
All
bring
right,
a
well,
date.
come to the Monarch Stag, enjoy happy hour, St. Patrick's Day. Get yourself a little St. Patty's Day green duck, because everyone loves the ducks, and we'll see you next week.
Salud.
Salud.
Great cocktail.
It's Salante. No,
Slanche.
Slanche. Slanche.
Should I say salud?
Slanche.